Welcome back to another edition of the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. On this episode, myself and Justin Lowery will talk about the dead even rating between AEW and NXT this past week, as well as what's been happening on Raw and SmackDown. Look forward to the upcoming pay-per-view TLC this weekend as well. That's all to come on this episode of the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. And back again, I am Sean Meyers, joined by returning co-host Justin Lowery. Justin, good to see you. In your absence, we had a pair of KSWA superstars / founders in Sean Blanchard and Lou Martin. The ratings skyrocketed. So the pressure is now on you, my friend, to continue those high ratings. And when I talk about ratings for the podcast, well, ratings, they really matter, seemingly, in wrestling now in 2019. I think for the first time in probably 20 years, head-to-head ratings have become a thing. That's between AEW and NXT on Wednesday. And let's start there because it's sort of been back and forth over the past month after AEW really held control through the first 6 weeks or so. They've gone back and forth, and NXT won a few times. This week, it was not a clear winner. Believe it or not, and I do not believe it, the numbers say a completely even rating, a draw between these. What do you make of that?
The people that watch NXT really don't watch AEW and vice versa. I mean, AEW's ratings, I guess, have pretty much kind of leveled off, stayed steady, which, I mean, they eventually were. I guess TNT's happy. It's still above what they were thinking. Vince is probably a little pissy because I'm sure he wants to win. But I mean, if like a little over 700,000 each show, so that's about 1.5 million people, roughly watching wrestling Wednesday nights. That probably sounds about right. I would love to see these shows on different nights just to see what ratings could be without having the competition.
I think really for AEW, the numbers might be a little more important than NXT. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Oh, goodness, Justin. Easy over there. Getting excited.
Shit. Yeah.
So the other thing that came out this week, did you see the pictures that came out of the Dynamite tapings with the sparse crowd that was on the opposite of the camera side?
Yeah, and my reaction to that is it's funny. I mean, depending on what side you want to look at. I mean, I'm there just to enjoy both those shows. People take pictures of Raw and SmackDown tapings too, and half the arena on the camera side, there's nobody there.
And a lot of times you can sort of skew that as well, depending on when you take those pictures and things of that nature.
If you take it, before the show, it's going to be more empty. If you take it after a show, a dark match, people are going to leave. Look, the show that I went to, Dynamite, it was like their third or fourth show. It legitimately was 85 to 90% full here in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, I can tell you that much. I saw Cody, I guess, defended saying that they were 80% full. There was like 4,500 people there. And that's probably accurate. I don't think he's lying.
I think they base that on the tickets sold, and you can't necessarily say maybe the actual number of people who come to that. But I know maybe they do have technically a gate, but
yeah, I mean that's true. I mean in professional sports, they'll announce tickets sold. They don't announce actual the gate.
Pit football, Justin, you know all about this. You every home game you get a picture of the half empty stadium.
Absolutely. I mean, being a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, they'll announce 17,000 and there might be 5,000 there. Pit football, they'll announce 42,000 and there's 15,000 there. Every sport does it. I mean, it's we're just talking locally here. But not a lot of people care about wrestling. It's a dying thing. If you go to a WWE house,
should it be a concern for AEW that they're already maybe losing the interest of some of the fans?
Well, what were they? It depends on what your expectations were. Like if they're getting 45,000 a show, to me that's pretty good, right? I mean, you're a fresh company. You're a couple months in. Do you think you're going to have 15,000 people at every taping? No.
I think the expectation for me, if I'm part of AEW, or if I am someone who really wants to see them succeed, you just want a gradual trend up. And it seems like it's sort of going down after a really good start, which is somewhat expected. But to me, you said you're a new company, you want to kind of build to that. The ratings have gone down a little bit from the start. Now, they did bounce back a couple weeks after they had a really low Thanksgiving one, but if the attendance is dropping too, maybe that's a concern. But to your point, that is kind of across the board.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. When SmackDown debuted on Fox, right, it was over 4 million people. Now they get like 2.5. They lost a little over 2 million viewers from that. No one's talking about that. When Raw, quote unquote, debuted, last year Raw was doing over 3 million. Now it's doing barely over 2, like barely over 2. And the third hour is going below 2. So let's keep things in perspective, okay? Like the people that want to trash AEW, like the hardcore WWE fans. Well, WWE has lost tons of audience too. They just had more to lose because they've been around for how many years? Decades. So, I mean, they're way up here. AEW is way down here. Nobody expects them. If you can go to a Raw taping, and a Raw taping, like you see someone might have like 6,000 people. Well, if Raw has 6,000 and AEW can pull in 4,000, I think that's pretty good for AEW. Like, they don't really have any known commodities except for like Jericho, and he's just more of a face. Like, there's no superstars on that show. There's no wrestling, stars. So that's, to me, that's not bad. If you're thinking they're supposed to be selling out 10,000 seat arenas every week, that's asinine. WWE can't even do that anymore. They don't sell out Raw and SmackDown anymore. They have 5,000 to 7,000 people for those shows.
So basically, summing it up, you don't think that this is going to be maybe a sign of problems to come for AEW then?
No, because everything I read, Tony Khan, first off, they have a billionaire, someone who's more than Vince backing.
So they can take some losses early.
Right, and I read an article. They have a plan in place for the first couple of years of losing money. They know that they're going to lose money. So at what point do they expect to start making money? Who knows? But good businessmen know whenever you start a new business venture, whether you open a bar or a restaurant or a nightclub or anything, you're going to take losses. Maybe your first or second year, you have to balance for that, and then hope maybe by the end of your second, third year, you start seeing the gains. And we really won't know. I mean, AEW is not going away next year. It's not going away next month. We'll have to see I think you at least have to give it 3 years to really see where this company can go.
Well, I think the interesting thing is you kind of mentioned they got in at a time where wrestling was trending in the wrong direction.
Right.
And at least some people, and I'm not going to, give your take on this, but I think that some people thought maybe they would sort of buck that trend and generate more interest. But it seems like they're falling to the same pattern that everyone else has. So they're really maybe not, they will serve a purpose, but they might not be a revolutionary boost to this business that we thought maybe we would get when WCW went head to head with WWE.
Well, right. And when that happened, I mean, WWE even was struggling in the ratings in the mid-90s. I mean, their product was pretty crappy. Let's be realistic. But as soon as WWE or WCW jumped on, they hit right away. And they also were able to sign Macho Man, Hogan, and guys that were clearly at the end, but still had a ton of name value and something left in the tank. Well, Vince's time, he didn't allow guys to leave like that. He re-upped everybody, signed them to 5-year deals and gave them a buttload of money to stay. Even if they're not being used, he would rather pay someone to sit at home just so they can't go there and cause them problems. So that way he was smart, going, I'm not allowing this to happen again. So AEW... And
he had a lot of leverage to do that as well.
Right. He has tons of cash flow coming in. A lot of it blood money from Saudi Arabia, let's be realistic.
And from Fox.
And Fox is giving him, which I bet you if Fox could go back, I would love to know if they would do that again. Because they really can't be happy with like just 2.5 million people watching, right? Like,
I don't know what they what they were paying for the rating they were getting previous to that.
I bet you not, but they signed $1 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money to be giving for a show that's giving you just 2.5 million people.
Right, and they're paying what, $200 million a year because it's a 5-year contract. If you really break it down, what were they paying for their Friday night programming before, and what rating was it doing?
The 2 TV shows that would air during there, there's no way they're spending that much money on actors, production, whatever. You know, is it worth it? I would love to know. I mean, but wrestling right now is down. I would assume if you're watching NXT and AEW, I would consider you a hardcore fan, right? So we just said maybe about 1.5 million people combined. Well, the Raw ratings like 2.2. Okay, SmackDown was like 2.5. So that tells me that like 60 of Raw, I would say like 75% of people watching Raw are hardcore fans. Maybe 60% of SmackDown. So really, the casual viewer, there's not many out there. There's probably less than 1 million people a week who are casually watching wrestling. That they're just not watching wrestling anymore. Wrestling is not cool. Wrestling is missing something. They're missing whatever it is. Nothing catches anymore.
But the people who were saying, well, that's because there's no real alternative to WWE, that looks like maybe that's not necessarily the solution at this point.
Well, I always believe going into this, and I still believe competition makes people better. Maybe not for me or you, we're not really, seeing it, but for the wrestlers, they are. I mean, because of AEW, a lot of wrestlers that stayed with Vince got 5-year deals with a lot more money. Even if they're not being used, they're more financially secure. AEW is offering, good money, it seems, with working a whole lot less and with health care. Right. So if you choose to go over there, it's given wrestlers better options, so good for them. But for people like me and you who are watching, I don't think anything's changed too much. I've always enjoyed NXT. I enjoy AEW, though I can personally say, I've seen every episode. They need to start figuring some stuff out. Okay,
there was a rumor that Jericho went and brought up some points about how they were just not following any rules. And I remember ECW sort of was like that, like a tag team match. Every match was just like a tornado tag and stuff like that. And it worked for ECW, but I don't know that that's what AEW really wanted to go.
And that's good that Jericho is maybe going on the internet, listening to people. Like, hey, guys, people are saying our tag team matches are a little confusing. We're not tagging in. There's no rules. The fans aren't understanding. Like, that's good that he's there and maybe trying we need to nip this in the butt so we don't end up like TNA and like doing some crazy stuff. Like, I mean, I don't watch a lot of wrestling too much anymore. Some of it's interest level. Some of it's based on I have a very young child and he occupies a lot of my time, and I have other things going on. I fall asleep now because he's up in the middle of the night, so I fall asleep earlier. I mean, I enjoy wrestling. This time of year, I read an article, and it said December is actually the worst month for wrestling, and it listed all the points of why December is the worst month of the year for wrestling, and it kind of is. I mean, as of 2 weeks out, there was no matches listed for TLC.
And we'll get into that. We're not going to run down the whole card. I remember, and I'm going to be honest, I sort of preferred 10, 15 years ago, they would just have like the recap highlight shows for this basically Christmas episode or maybe sometimes the New Year's episode. So you wouldn't really get a new episode of Raw or whatever it was. Or they would tape it like 3 weeks in advance and it was like everyone already knew what was going to happen.
Well, and two, like, on Raw and SmackDown, you're going to get some holiday-themed episode with Santa Claus, Now,
they didn't really do anything that much for Thanksgiving, did they?
I don't feel like we got one for Thanksgiving. Halloween, there were some pumpkins, right? Some jack-o'-lantern.
Trick or Street Fight or something.
Yeah, like...
Well, last year, I remember Elias and I think Bobby Lashley had their blow-off, and it was some sort of ridiculous match like that. There was a bowling ball involved and all sorts of fun things.
At this point, I'm ready for January to hit because I still enjoy the Royal Rumble match. So, I mean, and this year the rumor is, 10 SmackDown, 10 Raw, and 10 NXT guys. So that would be your 30.
Well, what about Nia Jax? You have to make her one of the...
Well, she's still out with those double ACL tears. So maybe, thankfully, we'll be okay this year. But Rhea Ripley can fill that role.
Yes. So, you mentioned about superstars and Vince not wanting them to be let go. I want to get into that a little bit later because there were some releases since the last time we met. But I think probably the biggest takeaway that I had for, really the last week of wrestling was the Seth Rollins full-blown heel turn. And yes, they had teased this. And when I talked to you about it, you said, well, I saw that coming. Yeah, but you still never really know with WWE because they changed plans. Remember when Alexa was supposed to turn on Nikki Cross? Remember when Bayley turned on Sasha Banks?
Yeah.
They don't always go through with this stuff, and I thought they were really going to tease this Rollins thing. It actually felt like they sort of pulled the trigger earlier than maybe they were originally planning. He's now full-blown heel with the AOP, and I'm going to be honest, the pairing with the AOP is a little bizarre. I think it should really elevate them, which I'd be okay with. It just seems like a weird pairing with Rollins. However, one, Kevin Owens gets a huge push out of this because now he's feuding with the top heel on Raw. And two, this is what people wanted for like the past 3 or 4 months since they sort of grew, sick of the babyface Seth Rollins over the summer.
Well, yeah, I mean, Seth basically helped his heel turn along by him just acting like a jackass on Twitter. He comes off like an arrogant prick to begin with.
But so that's fine if you can capitalize on it because people want to hate him, right?
And I think that's rightfully so. That's what they're doing. It's like The Miz doesn't play a very good guy because he just comes off like a bit of an arrogant ass. And that's why he's better as a bad guy. To me, Seth Rollins, everyone thought he would be a great face. In reality, not really, because the more you listen to Seth Rollins, the man, talk, the more you're like, oh, that dude comes off like an insufferable jackass. So it's easy to boo him.
I thought the best version of him as a face was him just basically going out and wrestling great matches and keeping the the character and the verbal exchanges to a minimum.
Well, right, because when Vince and company wants to push somebody as the guy, you have to have a lot of promo time. Seth was not very good on the mic cutting babyface promos.
He was good as a heel when he first turned on the Shield.
That's why I said babyface promo. Right. He just doesn't. He's not good at it. He's not good at it. And neither is Roman Reigns, and I think that's what really hurt him. They don't have what John Cena had or The Rock had. They're just missing it, and maybe some of that is being scripted. I mean, I'll be honest. One thing AEW does extremely well is their promos. From certain guys, you could tell, like Cody's and Jericho's, their promos, Moxley's. To me, they're way and above what we get on Raw and SmackDown. They're straightforward. You could tell there's actually raw emotion. Where WWE, it's reading from a script.
NXT does a much better job, I would say, with that. Correct?
Yeah, but I think Triple H has his finger on the pulse better than Vince McMahon does.
So Seth Rollins going forward, this was something that they sort of adjusted on the fly. How does it change Raw? And is this really a true opportunity for Kevin Owens to now be the biggest face on that show, which I, as have said before, I think is long overdue?
Well, yeah, give it a shot, right? I mean, who else is going to be the biggest face on that show, right? I mean, who else? Isn't that a problem that they have?
Humberto Carrillo, Justin.
Yeah, like they have issues. Let's be honest. They have.
It could be Rey Mysterio, but that seems like that'd be like a short-term fix, right? I mean, that's like a 3-month thing. That might take us to WrestleMania, but that's not going to take you like into this new decade.
Ray's kid, he's the future. Waiting for him to say ruthless aggression, and then we're going to be off and running.
Speaking of Mysterio, I'm guessing you might have already called it a night. Did you see or hear about the end of Raw on Monday?
I did not see it. I fell asleep on the couch.
Well, they almost fell asleep in terms of the cutoff time because for 15 plus years Raw had that overrun. And it was kind of cool because it was always comical. Like, you knew the show wasn't going to end at 11, but you didn't know, like, they kind of got like 3 minutes sometimes. They got up to like 15 minutes other times. So it actually created suspense.
Right.
With when is this going to end? You don't know.
Right.
Is there something else that's going to happen? That was cool about it. I really think like going away from that makes it difficult because if it's 10:59, you know that it's going to end right there and there's not going to be any surprise afterwards, something like that. So AJ Styles and Mysterio have a match, and basically they were setting up for I think a Styles Clash off the rope. They botched it. They had to kind of draw out a couple more moves. and it basically ended up being super rushed. Randy Orton does like a fake run-in. Mysterio gets a roll-up. As the pin was being counted, they already had like the copyright thing, 2019, and they got out no more than probably 5 seconds after that 3 was counted. One, I would be like super nervous if I'm Vince or the producers thinking like we're going to literally miss the ending of our match, which I don't know that that's ever happened on Raw. If it has, it's been a long, long time. So your thoughts on cutting it that close? And I guess this is when you plan on having the pinfall at 10:59, something like this could happen, and they're just lucky that they got it in, right?
Yeah, well, apparently some areas, they didn't see the end of the match. I saw reported that some areas in the country, they did not get to see it. They did leave early.
And I know people who watch it on DVR, sometimes it, cuts off maybe 30 seconds before it should.
Right. So, that's living dangerously. I mean, if they're going to do that hard cutoff, I mean, the only one that I really remembered history is that famous Halloween Havoc in WCW pay-per-view. He ran over and the pay-per-view cut off. And
you're paying money for that. That's right. 10 times worse.
And they had to give refunds to everybody, and that was one of the downfalls there of WCW. But it's not a good look. I mean, I guess they were told, the wrestlers were told they had to like hurry up, and I guess to finish, they just like abruptly, like they weren't even prepared for it to end the way it did.
Because there's a lot to do. Orton had to do the run-in. They still had to fix the move that they were trying to go for, and then the roll-up.
Luckily, I guess for Vince, you had 2 very professional veteran wrestlers in the ring that were probably able to adjust. If you have someone who's maybe fresher, younger, maybe they don't handle that the way it needed to be handled, and you do go off the air without the finish. So Vince might have got lucky that he had 2 seasoned vets in the ring and knew what they were doing.
Do you think it hurts Raw a little bit not having that overrun?
Well, sure. I think it hurts any show.
Because NXT gets one now, right?
NXT is the only one that gets one now.
That's weird. I understand why they're doing it, because it's going head-to-head against...
Right, they want to defend... I do. I'll watch the end of AEW, then I flip over and watch the end of the main event of NXT. Because is it going to end at, like you said, 3 after, 5 after, 7 after? So, like, if it's, like, 10:58, this finish is probably going to be the finish. It's not going to be a false finish. Or, that you can walk away, I need to go to the bathroom, let me go to the bathroom because I got 6 minutes left. I can make it back in 2 and still catch the end of the match.
Right. Makes it very much like TV shows. Oh, okay, we're going to get the Full House Danny Tanner lesson right at the very end of the show, just in the nick of time. Whatever. Another thing on Raw, I'm guessing you hate the Lana Rusev Lashley storyline, right? I know you said it made it uncomfortable and you just think it's like kind of weird.
It went from me feeling uncomfortable to me just outright hating it, and just now I laugh at it.
So, I think their actual goal is to make Lana look like really ridiculous in this, right? I think that is the plan.
Right, but and it's working.
It's also working in getting Rusev over, although the thing is, Rusev is a guy who's always been over.
Yes.
However, when he was over with the Rusev Day chants, I didn't why was he popular?
I think people...
Because he came up with one saying, right?
Well, first off, a lot of people could come up with one saying and make a lot of money doing it. That's part of wrestling, is coming up with a saying that catches on.
Right.
Another it is, I think fans legitimately didn't mind him in the ring and thought he wasn't treated fair. When fans think a certain wrestler maybe isn't getting their just due, they will rally behind him. Or in the other case, if they think you're getting pushed too much and they don't think you deserve it, then they end up booing you.
So, watching this segment on Raw, and they had their divorce, as you just saw there, I actually thought Rusev was awesome because he's just carefree now. He just makes fun of how ridiculous this whole thing is, and to me that was the most entertaining that Rusev has ever been. So I think it's good in that sense. It's sort of weird that they had to do this with the guy who was already over. And it's going to lead to a match this Sunday. I think the fans legitimately will be really into that match. And Lana's going to get involved somehow and everything like that. So ultimately, is this storyline accomplishing its purpose?
It depends on what the purpose was. I mean, it gets a lot of YouTube views. So if that's what they're looking for, clicks and stuff, then I guess, yeah. I mean, surely ain't bringing in ratings. It's not bringing in any mainstream attention. The attention, like everything I see about it online, people are just like making fun of it. I mean, some people are like, this is amazing, but amazing in like a bad way. Like, this is so bad, I gotta watch. Like, this is a train wreck. This is hilarious.
And when WWE had really good ratings, they had stuff like this all the time.
Right, but that was, 20 years ago. Things have changed. I mean, it's a different society out there anymore. And it seems like Bobby Lashley's always involved in some insane, outlandish storyline, right?
Because he's such a great, glowing personality.
Oh, this dude got charisma, this reigning off the charts.
Yeah. It's a similar situation. It's a parallel, I would say, on SmackDown. Baron Corbin has been pushed as a true like throwback heel that no one wants to cheer for. And they sort of try to reenact this again with Kofi on Friday, but the prior week was the dog food thing with Roman Reigns. This is really like something that I think is appealing to like small children, where he's like doing like the dog costume and all this stuff. This is not like what the hardcore wrestling fans want to see, but this is what WWE and really professional wrestling has done for decades and decades. So I don't enjoy it. I think that they could do a lot better, but I understand the purpose is they don't want anyone liking Baron Corbin. They don't want him being cool or entertaining. They want him being like so annoying and people are just like, oh my God, I just hate this guy, that they hope instead of people tuning out, those people tune in just to see Corbin get destroyed. And that's what they've been doing with him going back to when he was running Raw as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's the definition of probably the one main true heel, on the roster. Nobody likes him or cheers for him. But the problem with that is, I mean, this is coming from an adult here. When Roman and him are on, I don't watch. I will flip. Like dog food, like you said. I think you got to be 8 or under to really appreciate that or find that. I don't think a 12-year-old is into that. I don't think a pre-adolescent, a teenager, they're not finding that funny. That's not cool. I really think it's 8, 7, 6-year-olds. They're like, dog food. Look, he put dog food on. Like,
it's supposed to be that the bad guy is so like out of touch and thinks this is funny, but everyone knows it's not funny.
But the problem, the thing I worry about is, I think they know it's not funny, but I truly think Vince McMahon thinks it's funny. And I read
that might be true.
The Fox execs did not think it was all that funny and actually thought it was pretty lousy. Like, they were not happy with the segment. They thought it was that awful.
And yeah, I get that. So I don't know. They're kind of, with both these Lana, Rusev, and Lashley, and then the Corbin and Reigns, they're trying to do what has always worked in wrestling. But to me, it's like your point. Maybe they need to evolve a little bit more with this. Because you're not going to see something like that in NXT.
No. I honestly, it's pretty juvenile. Like I said, like I'm not 8. I can't get it anymore. I don't get it. I'm just waiting for poop to fall from the sky.
That very easily could happen pretty soon, Justin.
Well, it's been done before.
Yes. The poor Spirit Squad. All right, so looking ahead to this weekend, they have the TLC, and here's the thing. TLC matches, when they started, were awesome. I always enjoy a ladder match. I'm actually really looking forward to the ladder match because it's the New Day against the Revival. And that could be really now, good. I will say this. The Revival aren't really a team that you think of like they're going to be great in a ladder match because of their style. But I think that they've done, I believe, in NXT at least, some ladder matches. And then Kofi's always good for like 1 or 2 high spots. It's not going to be like the traditional just high spot jumping off the ladder type of match, but I think that one could be really good. But the stipulations of this is a tables match or this is a ladders match, we don't even, like you said, you don't even know which goes with what because there's no reason. They just throw it in there because that's the theme of the pay-per-view.
Don't forget the awesome stairs match.
Was that Big Show and Mark Henry, or who was the big?
I believe so. Yeah. You could use those stairs. I mean,
and luckily they're not doing a stairs or a chairs match, at least at this point.
Well, that's good because even a table match, they're kind of lame. It's a way.
The ladders match is really the one That's great, I think.
I prefer like the traditional TLC matches. You use everything. Like, why you just have to use one? Like, a table match, I think, was invented so somebody can lose and not take a pinfall. It's like when Sheamus beat John Cena for the title. Well, Cena doesn't actually have to, take the fall. Going through a table isn't the same as like losing the match.
Which, in a sense, makes the stipulation kind of dumb, right? You don't even get a true winner. You get like, oh, that person went through a table and they might be completely fine.
Being the one doing the work and just gets pushed off. They go through the table and they have that shocked look on their face, like, no, and they lose the match. Yeah.
Your anticipation level for this event, I think one thing that's actually really cool, and I'm interested to see how they do it, is what they're doing with Bray Wyatt / The Fiend, because it looks as though he's not going to pull double duty. We thought at first maybe he would. He's just going to wrestle as Bray Wyatt, which would be the first time with this new character that he's just wrestled as Bray Wyatt. So how does that work? Is he still like superhuman in a sense, or is he just going to be like just very normal? You know what I mean?
Normal, and there's not going to be red lights.
That'll be good. So he's going against The Miz, but again, he's going as Bray Wyatt, and I think that this storyline's been really cool. I actually liked what they did on SmackDown, where they had like the dolls from the Firefly Funhouse were like in The Miz's kids' playpen or whatever.
Yeah.
How do they book a match like this? And do you like the kind of split personalities of Bray Wyatt both getting matches in a span of a month's time?
I'm fine with it. It maybe makes his matches a little bit more special. It's kind of like when Finn was the Demon and not the Demon. I mean, they've done this before with different wrestlers. Hey, why the hell not? And actually, I saw that Bray Wyatt is the number 1 merchandise seller in WWE right now, which, I mean, hey, that's pretty cool.
They have like the Ramblin' Rabbit Christmas items out, I think. I'm not even joking. Like, they really do, I'm pretty sure. So people are buying that stuff. Could you imagine had they just gotten rid of it like they, I think, originally wanted to on Fox?
Yeah, that would have been a bad move, right?
Missed opportunity, but luckily Bray rebuilt it, which was good. One of the TLC matches is Roman and Corbin, and I actually think if they just had a regular match, it could be pretty decent, even though people wouldn't really be that into it. But the Kabuki Warriors and Becky and Charlotte is a TLC match. That one could be really good. I just hope we don't see Becky and Charlotte win the titles, because why?
I hope so. No, they don't need the titles. Keep it on the Kabuki Warriors. I'm enjoying them right now. I think they're doing a lot of cool stuff. I like their looks. I enjoy them. Becky and Charlotte don't need the tag team titles. For the love of God, they do not need them whatsoever.
What else? Well, first off, what else do you even know is on the card for Sunday, and what else are you potentially looking forward to, or maybe you're disappointed in?
Well, I don't even know. I'll keep it real with everyone. It's Sunday night. You know what I'm going to be doing Sunday night? I'm going to be watching Steelers versus the Bills, and there's probably going to be more tables being broken down the North Shore with the Bills Mafia, and there will be a TLC. All right, so I'm going to be watching.
They don't take their bumps very gracefully, though.
No, they don't, but I immensely enjoy watching those videos every Sunday. I'm going to be watching the game on the big screen. I'm going to have the pay-per-view on my iPad in the corner. So I'm not really going to be focused in too much into the wrestling. I will put, because the show starts at 7, and quick cap's not to 8:20. So I will watch like the first hour and 20 minutes on my television like normal, and then I'll make the switch. I'm not anticipating much just because I have other interests, so I really don't have a high level of excitement for it. I will say I do expect 2 or 3 matches usually to end up being pretty damn good, especially if they use ladders. Like you, I'm a sucker for a good ladder match, so I'm always entertained by spots and certain ring psychology of a ladder match. So, and like you said, the Revival New Day, I expect that to be pretty good. Becky, Charlotte, and the Kabuki Warriors, that has an opportunity to be really good, but I also think it has an opportunity to be a train wreck.
Charlotte's had some really, when she had that 2-on-1 against the Kabuki Warriors a couple weeks ago, that was like bad. I don't understand. Sometimes it just feels like they haven't been on the same page recently.
The women have become very hit or miss with me. Yeah. I thought they had a run there where they were doing some awesome stuff, and now their matches are sometimes very sloppy.
I mean, Lacey Evans has had some brutal ones, and looks like she's a challenger now to Bayley, which just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand. It seemed like the women's division there made a lot of progress, and now it seems to be taking a lot of steps back.
Right. So I mentioned the guys being released. I think the most notable was Luke Harper, Sin Cara, which I don't know if that really registers with anyone. The Ascension, who at one time were pretty prominent in NXT, but just never found their footing. I think Harper's the big one because everyone knows he's wanted to be released. They didn't have any plan for him. Then they brought him back for a couple weeks, which is, in retrospect, just mind-numbingly bizarre. And so now he's gone. So everyone thinks he's going to go to AEW. What's your take on people finally being released, and in particular the group that was?
I guess mostly everybody who wanted to release asked for their release. Sin Cara did, which is because the guy who played Sin Cara got released. As we well know, he's not the first person to play that character. Vince, they might pull that character out again, because it doesn't have to, it's not associated with one wrestler. It's
so you saw that they did like a 2-week push with him and he got like a female sidekick?
Yeah, and then they were just like, yeah, we're done. Never mind. The Ascension, I'm not going to lie, I totally forgot they were on the roster. When I saw that they got released, I forgot all about them.
What's your fondest memory of them on the main roster?
Oh my God, do I even have one?
I remember that they were like, how Brock Lesnar, like almost every time he was in a feud, had some like crazy brawl where everyone tried to break it up. And I remember the Ascension really trying their best to break up the darn brawl with Brock Lesnar and someone. It might have been Strowman or whatever. Like a lot of guys, they don't really try. They're just like, oh, stop fighting. The Ascension were going hard trying to break up that brawl.
Yeah, I mean...
They were funny on the Fashion Files with Breeze and Fandango, too.
Yeah, I guess there was a little bit of that. I mean... Going back to Harper, though, AEW, why? If you're AEW, do you want him? Possibly. I mean, what are you going to do with him? I mean, he would be one of your bigger guys. They have a lot of small men on their roster. I mean, he's 39, almost 40. He's very talented in the ring. I think he could probably fit in, in the talent aspect there. What are you going to do with him? What's the point? I mean, he's not going to turn the ratings. He's not going to bring viewers in. And from what I read, they released these people because they felt that there was no harm. No, Vince and company aren't afraid of one of those guys doing much anything with any other promotion that would cause harm to WWE. And I think they're right. I bet
Harper, I think he's certainly good enough to be in AEW. He's probably better than a decent number of guys they have now. But I think that the drawback for AEW is, you sign a guy that WWE had no use for. How many times are you going to do that?
Well, right, because then you get to the old TNA skit, we sign every ex-WWE wrestler and make him in the main event. Well, then it starts making your product look weak. Well, why is Luke Harper, you're in your main event picture where on WWE you can barely get on TV?
Right. Swagger, Ty Dillinger.
Right, in those regards, just like that. Swagger I kind of get because he's a legit MMA fighter and he's undefeated. He's a legit badass.
And he was gone for a while too.
Yes.
And he was off TV, out of the company for, I don't know, 2 years or something.
Right. So I can buy that. But like you said, Ty Dillinger, no one's really buying that.
All right, Justin. Anything else you wanted to vent upon?
No. The holiday season is upon us.
You know what that means. Before 2019 wraps up, we have to do our year-end awards.
Oh, my. That's what the people are waiting for.
Indeed. We might have another special guest. Matt Vandriek said that he wanted to get someone else on. But at some point before the end of 2019, Justin, you and I will reconvene. We will go over our year-end awards. Should be exciting. We had some good input a year ago, so we have that upcoming. If you want to see that and everything else that we have to come, follow us, 5-Star Pod Wrestle on Twitter, 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling on Instagram. Press the subscribe button on our YouTube channel down below so you can see each and every video that we have. That's going to do it for this week. For Justin Lowery, Sean Meyers signing off. We'll catch you again next time on the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling.